good morning and welcome back to At First Glance. My name is Jared Lawson.
And I'm Pastor Michael Miller here at First Lutheran Church. We're glad to be with you.
Absolutely. Good morning, Pastor. We're back.
Good to be back.
It's good to be back. We got a long one today. We are going through John chapter 9. Yeah, the whole
yes.
of chapter 9. So if you're following along at home, John chapter 9. Let's get right into it, huh?
Okay.
As he passed by, he saw a man blind from birth, and his disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Jesus answered, It was not this man who sinned, or his parents, but that the works of God might be displayed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming, when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Having said these things, he spit on the ground and made mud with the saliva. Then he anointed the man's eyes with the mud and said to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. So he went and washed and came back seeing. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar were saying, "Is this not the man who used to sit and beg?" Some said, "It is he." Others said, "No, but he is like him." He kept saying, "I am the man." So they said to him, "Then how were your eyes opened?" He answered, "This man called Jesus made mud and anointed my eyes and said to me, 'Go to Siloam and wash.' So I went and washed and received my sight." They said to him, "Where is he?" He said, "I do not know." They brought the Pharisees to the man who had formerly been blind. Now it was the Sabbath day when Jesus made the mud and opened his eyes. So the Pharisees asked again how he had received his sight. And he said to them, "He put mud on my eyes, and I washed, and I see." Some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath." But others said, "How can a man who is a sinner do such signs?" And there was a division among them. So he said again to the blind man, "What do you say about him, since he opened your eyes?" He said, "He is a prophet." The Jews did not believe that the man had been blind and received his sight, until they called the parents of the man who had received his sight, and asked them, "Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How, then, does he now see?" His parents answered, "We know that this is our son, and that he was born blind. But how he now sees, we do not know. Nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him. He is of age. He will speak for himself." His parents said these things because they feared the Jews, for the Jews had already agreed that if anyone should confess Jesus to be the Christ, he was to be put out of the synagogue. Therefore, his parents said, "He is of age. Ask him." So for the second time they called the man who had been blind and said to him, "Give glory to God. We know that this man is a sinner." He answered, "Whether he is a sinner, I do not know. One thing I do know, though, I was born blind. Now I see." They said to him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered them, "I have told you already, and you would not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want me to become his disciples?" They reviled him, saying, "You are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know that God has spoken to Moses, but for this man we do not know where he comes from." The man answered, "Why, this is an amazing thing. You do not know where he comes from, and yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, God listens to him. Never since the world has began has it been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing." They answered him, "You were born in utter sin, and you would teach us?" And they cast him out. Jesus heard that they cast him out, and having found him, he said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" He answered, "And who is he, sir, that I may believe in him?" Jesus said to him, "You have seen him, and it is he who is speaking to you." He said, "Lord, I believe," and he worshipped him. Jesus said, For judgment I came to this world, that those who do not see may see, and those who see may become blind. Some of the Pharisees near him heard these things and said to him, Are we also blind? Jesus said to him, If you were blind, you would have no guilt. But now that you say we see, your guilt remains. That's a long one.
That is a long one.
What a treasure trove, though.
Yeah. So it's typical of these signs in the Gospel of John that there's some action that's a sign of who Jesus is, and then there's either reflection on his part or conversations that sort of pull that all apart
Right.
and give that some more clarity. So
Absolutely.
we got that in a whole chapter just now.
We sure did.
Yeah.
I think I was laughing to myself as I was reading it because I'm just reading the same things over and over again. I thought I lost my place, but and then the blind guy was like, or the guy who was formerly blind, he said, "I've already said these things." And I felt as I was reading it, I was like, "I've already said these things too. Why are they still asking about it?" I think I don't know. I thought that was really funny. But we have this image here of what does it mean to see, right? The blind man obviously was healed of his blindness, and you got the Pharisees now were the ones who were blind. I think that's an interesting pivot in this story.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's it's a common thing. Like last week, it was the conversation with the Samaritan woman at the well, where they're talking about water,
Yep.
like literal water, but then Jesus is talking about the metaphor of water as the life that will spring up in her if she receives the gift that he has to offer. And so it's a similar kind of thing here. There's the physical gift of sight, but there are other dimensions of sight that get played out through the story.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
always wondering, like, what level are we at here now?
Yeah, where are we? Are we talking about physical blindness, spiritual blindness? And it's hard to tell these things. I think a lot of times we're talking about both. But I mean, the man who began to see by the end of the story regained his physical eyesight, and then also spiritual sight in believing that he was speaking to Christ, the Son of Man.
Yeah, and that's a point where I think it's both.
Absolutely, yeah.
He asks, who is this that I may believe in him? And Jesus says, you've seen him.
Yeah.
Physically now you've seen me.
Yep.
You're standing in front of me, but you've also seen deeper than that.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's it's almost poetic if it's not entirely poetic. It's really this beautiful story of redemption of this man, and then almost the fall of the Pharisees further into spiritual blindness. I think this last line is interesting. If you are blind, you would have no guilt. But now that you say we see, your guilt remains. So what is that saying to us in regards with this story?
Well, they've come at Jesus with their assumptions about what is righteous and what is unrighteous, and he's healed on the Sabbath, and
How dare he?
Yeah, he's not keeping the Sabbath, and so obviously he's a sinner,
Right.
and they're
course.
not able to look any deeper than that and see anything bigger going on here. They're not able to take a pause and wonder. There's no curiosity there,
Right.
so just judgment. And in a similar way, then they've cast the blind man out of the community,
Yeah.
or the formerly blind man out of the community, because
Because now he can see.
yeah,
Basically, in the spiritual sense. All
and,
he did
and
was
he's
be
speaking
honest.
back to them. If this man weren't from God, how could he do this thing
Right.
that nobody's heard done before? That a man born blind is given his sight.
Right.
And they're like, well, they're still of the mind, like the disciples at the beginning, that somebody born blind is born into sin, that there's some kind of sin that's the cause of this.
Right.
And now he's the one teaching them? How dare he?
Right.
So, I mean, I think that's a good, I mean, it's a warning to all of us, to humility, I think, and to wonder and to be curious about how is God at work in the world around me.
Right.
If I'm too convinced that I know everything, I'm going to stumble and fall. And
Absolutely. And he even says that kind of in the beginning, right? We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work.
mm-hmm.
So, like, this image of the daytime is when these things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's another powerful image of this one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the very famous "I'm the light of the world" line there again too.
Yeah, I mean, it hooks back into the first chapter, or the very beginning of the gospel,
It does.
where it's the creative word that brings everything into being, that
Mhm.
becomes flesh. And what was created through this word, but life, and the life was the light of all people. So
Right.
all of those themes are woven together at the beginning, and that work of creation, of bringing life, that's what Jesus is about, and that's what this is here for. This is an issue, not an issue of the man having sinned or of his parents having sinned.
It's an act of creation.
This is an ongoing work of creation.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I think some people might say then, well, isn't it kind of cruel that he was born blind just so he could receive his sight later? What do we say about that? That might be a...
Well, yeah, I mean, I think about like all of the ways in which the world around us is broken. I don't know if it helps to judge that as bad. I mean,
Right.
it is what it is. And if God is at work in it to bring life and wholeness, and is inviting us to be the instruments of that wholeness, to bring forgiveness where there's, division and hurt, and to bring even physical healing to where there's that harm, then we witness the power of God at work. That's hopeful.
Absolutely.
I guess that's the framework that I look at it with. I don't know that it's helpful to look at what is broken and ask, why did God make the world that way?
Right.
There's not any answer to that question.
No. I think there's no answer to that question because it's the wrong question.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, maybe this man who was born blind, maybe he received more in receiving his sight than mere sight than he would have had, had he been born with it. Instead, he receives the gift of Christ himself, and being able to spiritually see that truth. And that's a powerful truth that even everyone around him is kind of neglecting, even though they saw the miracle.
Yeah.
But this man, he gains that for himself in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that strikes me that we tend to see what we've always seen,
Mm-hmm.
and
Absolutely.
and it's laid out here so kind of humorously. This can't be that guy. Well, yes, it's that guy.
It's that guy who sees now. That's crazy.
Are you that guy, really?
have
Yes, I am.
You got a blind brother, maybe a twin. Yeah. Anything that's not what is actually true is how they want to see this image, and I think that's something we can fall into very easily in our own lives. So this, like you said earlier, this is a warning against that.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to break out of that.
Yes, it is.
My way of thinking has been shaped by experiences throughout my life, and now this is the way I see the world, and how could it be any different than that?
Absolutely.
It's a hard break out of that, and I mean, I think that's what we're experiencing right now, is that people have been shaped differently. We've got this polarization happening because different people are seeing the world out of a totally different lens. And you wonder, how could that be? And yet it's right here.
Right.
You see the one neighbor encountering this man and saying, look, the guy that was born blind has a sight. And the other is like, well, that can't be him.
That can't be him. Yeah.
He would be blind if it was him.
Right. That's a funny way of putting it. Yeah. Yeah. So this is one of those stories that we can take with us again and read this for yourself and see what you take out of it. But there's a lot here. And there's a lot of ways you can read this. It's very rich, very, very rich.
And I think the invitation through the whole of John's Gospel is to see Jesus as the incarnation of God, the embodiment of the Word who brought things into being, and who loves us. Like Jesus said to Nicodemus, God loved the world in this way, that He sent His only Son, so that whoever believes in Him and whoever sees Him for who He is and trusts Him will have life. God didn't send the Son into the world to condemn the world, but that it might be saved through Him. So this is about the world receiving life, and can we see that?
Yeah.
And once we see that, that changes the whole way we see the world around us and the people around us. Calls us into a new relationship.
Absolutely.
So, it's a good text for Lent because that's what the season is about.
Give us eyes to see. Yeah. It's a good prayer for this Sunday.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
It was fun to look at this text again.
This is a good one. A lot of reading. I
Uh-huh.
feel like every time we do this, I just get a little bit better at reading. Then by the end, I'll be a master of
Yes.
the English language. That was ironic, huh?
Uh-huh.
All right, well, thank you. We'll see you next week. On that note.
Have a good one.